The date right now is January 19th, 2009. The time right now is 16:22 hours. I'm Detective Mellish with the Orange County Sheriff's Office, reference Orange County case number 08-74777. I am at with Michelle Murphy. Michelle, would you please state your name and birthday for the record?
Michelle Murphy, 1983.
Hey, Michelle, you're aware this is being recorded?
I am aware.
Any objection?
No.
Okay. We've sat here for, I guess, roughly half an hour, and I'm here investigating the Caylee Anthony case. I sat here and wanted to get an idea of how you knew Casey, relationships that you may have with Caylee. And we sat here and we talked about several things. I just kind of want to go touch on a couple of them one at a time. How long have you known Casey, Caylee, or the Anthony family?
I've known the Anthony family, I guess. I met Lee when I was in first grade, so about 5 years old. And then I reconnected with him again in middle school, and knew that's when I really met, I guess, the family in middle school, and then I reconnected again after a length of time back probably about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
And you reconnected because you moved in, I guess, with Lee
Yes.
and Brian Lufkin at the time.
Yes.
All right. And that was when?
That was, moved in about April of 07, but I started hanging out over there and spending a lot of time over there probably in February of 07, so until September of 07.
So from February to September, you were living with Lee over at the Eagle Feather address?
Yes.
All right. And throughout that time, did you get to know Casey
Yes.
through Lee?
Yes.
I guess you had conversations with
Yes.
Casey. Had you met Caylee throughout that time?
Absolutely.
How would you describe her relationship with Caylee at that time, her daughter?
Good. Every time I saw them together, Caylee was always very attached to her. Like I would try and take, I love kids, so I would, try and take Caylee and play with her, or chase her around or whatever. And, she would only have some of that for a short amount of time, but after a couple of minutes, she was right back to Casey, or she would never even let Casey leave her sight, or she'd always want to be held, by Casey.
Did you know at the time what Casey did for a living, what her job was?
As far as supposedly she worked for the Universal Event Planner, so from what she was an event manager, event planner, from what I understood at the time.
What about the Sports Authority? Do you remember her saying that she worked at the Sports Authority any time?
That was, yes, she had said she had used the Sports Authority as an excuse one evening to get out of hanging out with me, or to not hang out with me one evening, or said she got stuck there or something along those lines, or that she had gotten robbed or whatever.
Was that before or after she started allegedly working for the university?
I guess it would have been after, I'm guessing. I don't know, around the same time.
Okay, fair enough. When you saw Caylee with Casey, or actually when you saw Caylee at any time, did you ever witness any tantrums Caylee might have had, or what she did, or the reason she would have these tantrums?
Well, I saw her have what looked to me like separation anxiety from Casey, I guess, mostly. Whenever Casey would leave her sight, or whenever Casey would put her down, she would start screaming and start no, mommy, but I did.
Was it that she wanted to have? Yeah, was she always wanted Casey's attention? Is it simply putting her in one room, walking to the other? Would that cause it, or do you know?
No, she would never Casey would never make it to the next room. Okay. Even if she had put Caylee on the floor and I was, chasing her around or trying to play with her or whatever, and Caylee lost sight of her, if Casey happened to walk into one of the other rooms or walked into the garage, Casey would kind of lose it.
Casey would lose it, or Caylee?
I mean, Caylee, sorry.
It's okay. How often would you say that happened? Is it every time?
Well, she got a little bit better, I think, once she got to know me a little bit more. She got a little bit more comfortable, but she didn't bring Caylee over to the house that often. I probably saw Caylee over at the house maybe 3 or 4 times. Well, maybe a little bit more.
Had you been over to their house in Hope Spring?
Yeah, I was there for Caylee's 2nd birthday.
Tell me about that.
It was a fiesta-themed birthday party, and Well, Cindy and Casey were hosting it, but Cindy being, Cindy, I guess, was more in charge of the festivities. Casey was being the social butterfly, and, we were mostly hanging out. I was in the pool, in the big pool. And I know that Caylee was, just attached. She was just in her little tiny pool, she was just running around and being in her little tiny pool. And then we all ate, and then we opened gifts, and...
Who was helping Caylee open gifts?
Cindy and Casey were both doing the gifts, and it kind of... I don't know. It was kind of weird, just because I guess it seemed like they were both...
competing?
Kind of. A little bit, kind of competing over the gifts, and I think Casey was more involved, but I think Cindy was still trying to run the show, still trying to be overbearing, or not overbearing. That's a bad word, but
let's talk more about that. We talked about it before, how Cindy viewed her relationship with her granddaughter more as a daughter relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That upset Casey. It seemed like she was maybe stepping on Casey's toes, or saying that Casey wasn't a good mother. Tell me about that relationship that you know of. What did you see?
Well, I saw Casey very afraid of her mom, and her mom's rebuke, or her mom's what her mom was going to say about her mom, disappointing her mom, I think would be a much better term. Casey, I think, she's not a stupid girl. She knows when she screws up, and she knows what she's doing is wrong. Whether or not it stops her from doing anything is another thing, but she doesn't want her mom to find out about the bad stuff that she does. But then that's also the first person that she turns to when she gets screws up in some way. But I think she never really complained too much about her mom. The person that she more complained about than anything was her dad, and just the crappy relationship that she had with her dad. Her dad was always yelling at her, and her dad and her didn't get along, and all this other stuff. But Cindy, she didn't really talk. Cindy and her was more just of an observational relationship, I think.
You mentioned she was afraid of disappointing her mom by letting her know about the bad stuff that she did. What kind of bad stuff did she do that she was worried about?